Thank you, Pooja. Thank you for the introduction, and good to have with us two eminent panelists to discuss on enablers of the future. So we have with us Praveen Kumar, who's the field marketing leader of the Client Solutions Group from Dell Technologies, and we also have Mahadevan Gopalkrishnan, who's the director of B2B business at Payoneer. Before I get started on the discussion, maybe I will request each of them to quickly introduce themselves, and then we'll get started. Praveen, over to you, if you can, please.
Thank you, Srikanth, and thank you, NASCOM team, for having me here on this forum. It's a great pleasure for me to be in front of a lot of people who are actually the future of the country, I would say. But nevertheless, I'm Praveen. I'm a field marketing leader with the Client Solutions Group at Dell Technologies, basically the PCs traditionally as it would be called as. Anything which you touch, feel physically, and it's at your endpoint. You know, I manage a team of field marketing personnel across India. I've been associated with Dell Abroad for approximately 14 years. In my tenure, I've had multiple roles, but recently I've enjoyed evangelizing the workforce transformation for a lot of customers across India, because that's what is rightly happening. And happy to share my thoughts over the next few minutes over with you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Praveen. And Mahadevan, if you could please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Srikanth, and thank you so much, NASCOM, for inviting us over here. It's really very humbling to be a part of this forum and sharing the dice with stalwarts like Praveen and Srikanth. Super exciting. I am Mahadevan, and I work for Payoneer. Payoneer is a US-based and now NASDAQ-listed cross-border payments platform that is trusted by 5 million customers globally. Customers who are exporters of services, exporters of goods, app developers, content providers, or even freelancers. Basically, we are in the business of simplifying cross-border payments. In my mandate over here is to establish and grow the B2B business charter for the region of SAMENA, which is South Asia, Middle East, and North of Africa. Looking forward to a great session with all of you.
Thank you, Mahadevan. So let's get started with probably the topic that we want to discuss today. We said the topic is going to be more about growth enablers of the future, but if you just step back and see, right, I think today, why would we talking about all this? I think it's more about the rapid acceleration of the transformation, the digital transformation we see around us. And of course, the growth on various fronts of the business. One, of course, is the pure business metrics, which you all talk about, right? The cost, the sales, the profit, and so on and so forth. But secondly, the larger piece of the workforce itself, because that's, I think, undergoing a huge transformation and adding to the overall growth of the industry. But before that, I think I would probably want to kind of recall on some of the stats that are there in the industry growth. I will refer to the strategic review report of NASCOM, which was released just a couple of weeks ago, where I think it has really shown that the growth of the industry has been phenomenally good, right? I mean, the last year, I think the industry has crossed the glass ceiling in that sense, crossed the 200 billion barrier. I think the industry is talking about touching 227 billion for the current FY. Exports is rising at an unprecedented 17.2%. Domestic also is at a good high of about 10% growth, YOY. And of course, on average, the industry is about 15.5%. Even from an employee perspective, I think the industry has added about 10% people. All said and done, we said pandemic, we said so many other challenges around us, but net, I think the growth has been good on all fronts. Now, in fact, I think one interesting metric on the growth is that the incremental growth that we got last year is about 30 billion. I mean, when we reached 227 billion. Incidentally, 30 billion was the industry size just about a decade and a half back. In 2006, the tech industry was about 30 billion. And today, we're talking that as the incremental growth YOY. So that's the kind of growth we're seeing around us. Now, with all that as the background, and let's talk a little about the growth enablers. Maybe let me start with you, Praveen. We're talking about enablers from a future standpoint, right? Now, what would be your take on how is the transformation of the workforce which has happened over the last, say, 18, 20 months?
This is a phenomenon which has happened in the last 18, 20 months. Now, when you rewind back to January 2020, everybody was scrambling to find a place to work from when the total lockdown was, placed into effect. Uh, Before that, let's take even a step before that. Companies were experimenting with bring your own devices,
Yes.
having remote satellite setups. Some companies ventured into tier 2, tier 3 cities. Some Indian companies, in fact, they started opening up offices in the village to tap into rural employment and so on and so forth. But they were experimenting this lockdown, total lockdown, whether you were a startup, small company or a medium enterprise or a very large enterprise with tens of thousands of employees. Didn't really matter. Companies were forced to make their employees work from their home or remote area. And that was a continuity issue, right? Business has to continue. When that came across, what's transformed is from a work from remote scenario, which was a temporary arrangement, to now what has become a core IT strategy, work from anywhere.
Yes.
Absolutely no boundaries to where your employees can work from. That's what I call, what's presented itself from a challenge to an opportunity right now. It's transformed itself to an opportunity. So truly, this has thrown up a lot of opportunities for enterprises, whatever size and scale they would be, into tapping into a lot of human potential.
Yeah.
At the same time, what was long impending of technology adoption. So digital transformation was literally forced. And, that was actually waiting for a long, long time. We were waiting for this. Unfortunately, it was a COVID wave, but the tech wave was pending for a long time. It incidentally came in the last 20 months. So this is this huge transformation. So what we see when we interact with our customers is the companies have today taken it up as a core IT strategy to make it a work from anywhere kind of situation, to be ready for the future. Now, God forbid, this does not happen once again, but if it does happen, how could life go back to normalcy immediately? How could we have continuity without any hindrance or hesitations? So that has become now a core IT strategy. And this also has given companies a lot of insights into employee workforce and workforce productivity and employees' satisfaction, their health. A lot of paradigms have opened up in this whole, in the whole time of the last 18, 20 months. It's pretty interesting. I could go on and on, but that's the crux of it.
I know. And probably these are the smaller silver linings over whatever has happened over the last 24 months, probably.
Absolutely.
So now maybe let's look at certain, I think one of the key things that the industry, especially from the tech industry, which is key to the industry, is about talent, right? Talent is something that is the core of whatever we do. So how do you think this whole availability of talent pools has transformed? And how do you think it's going to revolutionize the future in the industry? Because we're talking about going to tier 2, tier 3, we're talking about work from anywhere. And hence today, the boundaries of geo is really gone in that sense, right? Earlier, if somebody said I'm in X city, and if the person wanted a job in Y city, it was out of bounds. But today, I guess it's not the case. So given that, how do you think this is going to transform? Maybe I can, Praveen, if you want to go first, or Mahadevan, whichever way you guys want.
Yep, no problem. So, yep, again, it presents itself a lot of opportunities, and our companies are able to tap into personnel who actually took a break and were not able to come back, and they had their own limitations. Diversity has never been, better in terms of inclusive workforce. That's kind of, a key area where actually the productivity has increased a lot of it. I would like to touch, on a quick couple of things. The challenges earlier when you were in a physical space was, you could do only so much, and you have to do certain things with only certain people. For example, if you did not have a key person in the conference room or a meeting room, you could not carry out with the meeting. So collaboration was a problem, because he would probably say, gone to a vacation, stuck somewhere, extended his vacation, and he's not come back, and your project kind of gets delayed a little bit. So connectivity and collaboration was very, very important. I think that is now achieved with the advent of 5Gs, which will come in later on. I think it is going to throw us more opportunities. But having said this, connectivity is now seamless. We don't seem to have much connectivity issues at least in the metros and tier one, everybody has a broadband fiber. The devices have become intelligent to realize which connectivity solutions. The bandwidth throughput has increased. So today, if we are able to have such a meeting with no noises around my house or your place, with interfering this meeting, with a clear picture of video quality, this is what it was already, right? And I think collaboration tools like various things have popped up. Organizations also experimented with a lot of collaboration tools. So this is now given opportunity to have an inclusive workforce, diversity to the maximum scale, and right talent from wherever they want to. So, in kind of supply chain terms, what we say is you don't have to worry about where your employee is. Leave that job to the tech vendors. They'll take care of making sure that they have the productivity right from the word go. When they switch on their device, they are in your company. They are productive right from the power button on situation. So that's a great opportunity right now.
I agree. I think today, the availability of collaboration tools or productivity tools, there's point for choice in that sense. And I think people can work from anywhere. True. Maybe Mahadevan, if you could touch upon, because given that you people have a large focus on the SMB segment, which obviously is spread towards every corner of the country. How do you see this has actually transformed for you from your business standpoint?
Right. There's a very interesting aspect of talent pool availability with a layer of connectivity and collaboration for small, mid-size, or even freelancers as customer segments for that matter. Very interesting question, something that's very close to our heart since we are a fintech into cross-border payments. Let's take a step back and compare the from to have a better understanding of the to we are getting into. Mm-hmm. Until 5 to 6 years back, the industry trends in the IT was a function of what the heavyweights like the great TCS or the wonderful Infosys used to do. If they used to increase the hiring rate, the overall IT segment for the mid-size, small-size companies grew up. The day they decided to move to work from home or adopt work from anywhere, the entire industry adopted that as a practice. Yes. There has been a change, an emergence of a new company, which doesn't exist. I call that as gig INC. Basically, it doesn't exist in the real world, but it's amalgamation of all the gig force and the freelancers that we have in the country, in the region today. And how things have changed for them on the workforce part and the workplace part is what has been the defining part of the last couple of years. What do we know about this workforce? They are 10 to 15 times bigger than the biggest IT companies. They spend, according to research, more time, more money, more funds on their skill development. They have a better gender ratio, better than 1:3, which is the industry average. And lastly, they are not concentrated on the top cities. More than 50% of this workforce, this talent pool, comes from tier 2, tier 3 towns. And how workplace has changed in terms of the points which are already covered with Pradeep for enterprise is equally relevant to this particular segment as well. The Zoomocracy that is using of Zoom has created as a great leveler. There are tools, multiple tools available, which has bridged or made the entire working office or remote working divide completely defunct right now. And in between these workplace and workforce developments, there are top skills that we as a platform have seen change, emerge in the last couple of years. And this is a reflection of the workforce's offering to bridge the supply and demand gap. Mm-hmm. Today, the top 4 to 5 traits or top 4 to 5 competencies that is exhibited by freelancers, small and mid-sized companies in terms of the line of businesses include blockchain, some expertise of technology like a TensorFlow, Amazon DynamoDB, Microsoft Power BI, and some elements of media buying and machine learning, etc. The future on harnessing this workforce basis these skills will completely depend on the structural programs and the corporate policies that change to recognize these changes and move into implementation world as we move into the new norm.
Thank you. No, I agree with you. I think diversity, both of you touched upon that, and I think it's really improved. And in fact, the report actually talked about the diversity being at about 36% for the industry today, which is a fairly good one, and also growing at that. Now, both of you talked about access to talent, in tier two. You talked about gig. Basically, you said that there is no geographic limitation of accessing talent and so on, right? So if I can, extrapolate this, uh, are we also using the right things and tools and steps and processes to access fresh talent too in these circumstances? Because again, that's what we are building for the future. That's what we're investing for the future. So given that, how are we kind of working on the fresh talent piece or the Academia Connect, which is also a long-term strategy that organizations take? Maybe Mahadevan, if you could touch upon, and then Praveen.
Sure, Srikanth. So before the pandemic, and talking about US, and why we talk about US is most of the customers or IT based from India have their clients in US, Eurozone, APAC, etc. And pre-pandemic, roughly 5% of the workforce worked remotely, and 27% had flexible working hours or working locations, etc. Today, the same ratio is 50% and 92% respectively. So we are talking about big change that has happened in the last 24 months in this segment. Our customer segment, especially offering services to customers in North America, in Eurozone, have changed a difference in terms of the line of businesses that they are catering to. That is a more of cloud services, offering into VPNs, telecalling infra, video calling infra. All of these technology have seen an exponential growth. And we are taking this as a proxy to what is working in terms of digital tech, digital adoption for small and mid-sized companies globally and in India as well. Mm-hmm. So there are different segments of tools where you are seeing a very wide idea of adoption. These vary from CRMs, sales and marketing tools, lead management, customer handling and prospecting tools, analytics and reporting, some level of customer onboarding process training, and the last part being automations. So these are the 6 segments of tools which are seeing adoption by small, mid-sized companies, which pre-pandemic used to be heavily Microsoft Office, Excel, or Microsoft Word dominated prior to this. The 3 themes, once we go through all service providers, close to 100 service providers, we ourselves evaluated multiple of them at different points of time, and many of our customers as well. And the 3 common themes across these 6 area of product offerings where there is wider adoption among the customer segments are: 1, ease of integration, which means no longer should there be any constraint on the platform that I am operating on. It has to be agnostic to the infra that I have. The second point is ability to scale, which is where SaaS offerings are seeing wider adoption. Pay as you go as a business model, as a monetization model is getting widespread recognition and adoption and usage. And the third part is extremely low, easy interoperability or an exit barrier. No longer do I use a service provider which is offering me the best product at the best cost and providing me the best service. There is a newer filter of how easy, how effortless is it for me to move to a new technology once it comes in the future. So these are 3 parameters that goes into play, is what we've seen with our customers and with ourselves.
Okay, sure. Thank you. So Praveen, if you could touch upon this whole talent.
I'm very excited, Srikanth, to talk about this, because I've come in after multiple rounds of campus hiring, myself from my team actually. And it was absolutely seamless, because it was a virtual campus hiring process. We went and, actually tapped into talents from, the northeast part of India to the western side of India to south India. I didn't have really, I just needed a calendar invite to go and finish it off. And they needed a connectivity to get that. And most importantly, if you look at what's happening right now across various social media, you would see that onboarding experience is being now keenly focused on. You see a lot of new talents. And let's not forget, this is a country of millennials. This is a country where the majority of the population is youth, right? I have strong research studies which hints us that, hey, 2 out of 3 people are giving feedback openly that if they don't have the right tech to work with, right devices and gadgets to work with, either they don't accept the company's offer, or if they are a current employee, they would try to shift to another company, which is because everybody is attracted to devices and what technology can do for them. The last thing any new talent or anybody wants to worry about is having a substandard device or which could hamper their productivity, because they are very eager, they're very hungry to prove themselves. And when you want to tap into that, you just have to give them the right technology. Having said this, I onboarded several people wherever they've had work from. They're still in their native places. We are yet to come back to office yet. But I could tell you, with a lot of modern deployment practices, it's very, very easy to onboard an employee without any kind of hesitation. Earlier, you would probably have this traditional deployment of, say, for example, you order some gadgets for them. It comes to your office, your IT works on it, packages, sends it across in a courier again, spend a lot of time over the phone explaining to them what to do and stuff like that. But this is now an era of cloud-based deployment, virtual deployment, where you don't have to worry about anything. All that the employee needs to do is switch on the button, key in their login credentials, and everything they need is compiled and delivered right then and there. So they love technologies, and Dell has been also, hiring a lot of campus, new talent, bringing in fresh, thought processes to the companies. We have our moonshot goals, and we are proud to say that also that we have strong goals. By 2025. We reach 50-50 gender ratio within our own workforce. So this allows us to tap into that kind of potential, definitely. And technology is just easing the whole process of having fresh talent. Not only fresh talent, I would rather say that talent who probably went off the industry and now are very eager to come back. We kind of had various programs to get them up to speed, jumpstart them for whatever suitable roles they are. We drove some, a lot of programs for that, and then we have, recruited them as well. So that's where we are currently. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think can't agree more with both of you. I think today, I think with the technology, I think seamless integration has become so easy, right? I mean, wherever they are, whoever they are, they're new to industry, old in the industry, that just doesn't matter. You're just able to do all that. And yes, I think, as they say, right, all this migration of digital, of course, comes at a price. But I think, Praveen, if you can touch upon saying that while adoption of digital comes at a price, it also has to work at scale, right? I mean, that's how people can take it. And I'm talking more from the context of a small and medium organization. And I think it will apply to both of you, right? I mean, it's not that, unlike earlier, there used to be a barrier, right? If I invest around technology, there is an exit barrier, et cetera, et cetera. But today, I think that's not the real case. So probably it'd be good if both of you can touch upon that, and then we can go on.
Yeah, absolutely. See, when you want to move at scale, you would probably foresee that there could be some challenges or hurdles which you probably don't have the capabilities to address. Let me give you a small little perspective. When you work from a virtual scenario, there are research studies which calls out that 99% or more than that of any ransomware attack, malware attacks originate from your endpoint devices. So how do you, all it takes is probably just one unsolicited email to be opened by an employee, it compromises your entire company. You can see today the studies are showing that there has been increase in cyber attacks across because people are working. So, and you probably may not be able to invest in the right security talent pool because you're there is a lack of such talent pools, actually, at least in India, that there is industry experts are calling out security expertise and skill set to be trained on. But having said this, employees who want to go at scale are primarily little worried on security.
Yes.
They are worried about deployment at scale. If I'm going to move thousands of my employees outside, even the smallest little of, say, a patch upgrade or a firmware upgrade or anything, a driver update for that matter, how do I do that when the employees are not at office? So managing the life cycle of the PC at scale is also one of the key criteria which decision makers, IT decision makers, keep there in mind. And most importantly, you have diverse set of workforce. We kind of strongly believe one size does not fit all. So you can't have one uniform device across so many people to solve the problem. Companies have tried and failed in that. You need to be able to give them according to their job portfolio, if they are from finance or if they are a traveling salesperson, if he's a designer, how do you understand, right? So to do at scale, you need to probably understand your workforce very keenly, see what they need. The first and foremost, anybody in my company would at least ask this: what do you do with that? What do you do with this device? Tell me, how do I understand your workforce? Because we strongly believe in that. And we have practiced this for the last 12 years. For us, work from remote or work from anywhere is not an immediate start. We have done this in a gradual scale, in a larger scale for tens of thousands of our employees over the last 12 years. It was benefited because of open standard practices. We don't believe in proprietary lock-in technologies. It's very essential for any companies who's embarking in that journey to make sure they rely on open standard, because then it allows you the integrity to have multiple solutions to connect to each other. That's very important. Security is also very, very important. This is now possible, out of the box. Security is not a big, fearful, criteria for factor anymore. You can rely on experts who can provide you both security on top of the operating system, as in technical world we call it as application data security and stuff like that. At the same time, below the operating system is very, very important, because you don't know what's happening there in your BIOS or in any of your components and so on and so forth. So it's very important. So when you go at scale, what we've been able to successfully implement and what customers we see are believing in right now, have one trusted vendor who can give you end-to-end integration, not just about supply of devices, but also the right solutions out of the box, out of factory, where you don't have to manually intervene. One of the most important challenges of deployment at scale is also servicing them. It becomes very important. You need to keep the lights on. You can't send your IT, engineer to each and every employee's house to, get it rectified. So this is where advent of AI and machine learning is very important. So a standard feature like an artificial intelligence or machine learning to either improve performance or prevent proactively any kind of malfunctions which could happen, and proactively take measures to stop the device probably could fail, right? That's very important. Yeah. We've had instances where a hard drive was about to fail in a few days' time. The user did not realize, the IT did not pick it up. But then the AI tech actually picked it up that, it was building up, it could fail. It connected to the, technical support, and we sent in a replacement drive and alerted the user, hey, take a backup, just a few minutes, you'll be back again, without any. Yeah. So that's very important. So everything coming out of the box is even more sweeter, it's even more easier. So expertise, you don't have to really hire those talents in-house. You can rely on partners who can give that end-to-end solution. The biggest advantages of doing this at a scale is that you don't have fingers crossing each other, saying that hey, this is not my problem, that's that vendor's problem. And that goes around. And the last thing with any small and medium enterprise or even larger enterprise would like to have is trying to figure out what went wrong, right? So a single ownership would actually solve a lot of this at scale, basically.
True. No, so I think maybe as an extension to this, I think Mahadevan, if you could talk about, I think we talked about scale. But I think two important things here is one, we talked about security, right? And I think the exit barrier, because when people migrate to a new platform, especially being payments, I think there are two things that people want, right? One, they want stickiness of the platform, but again, the ability to kind of be flexible. And secondly, the security. If you can touch upon both of these.
Yes, and just to add on to the parts which Praveen already covered and on enterprises and their preference, their usage of technology to drive customer acquisition, there is a completely new element where things change a bit, the approach change a bit for a small customer and a mid-market customer. Srikanth, I'd like to add a little on that point as well. And until 2 years back, the prevailing wisdom was that small ticket size deals are the ones which get closed through technology, through online conversations, etc. And most of the tech-led customer acquisition or customer retention, etc., were smaller pockets of experiments or new initiatives which were driven by small and mid-sized companies, depending on their life cycle. This has changed today, where 85%, and these are published reports by PwC, where 85% of B2B transactions, deals get closed online end to end. So which means there is no element of a physical interaction. And roughly a third of these deals are bigger than $1 million in size. So not only are we talking about a large portion of deals getting closed on a pure online using technology to close the deals, but there's a high confidence to be able to close large complex size deals as well. Now, coming from, and one common thread that we have seen with our customers, and to some extent we as a fintech company are trying to incorporate as well, how to use technology to drive customer acquisition. So we basically have seen a common adoption of a 2x2 matrix. A 2x2 matrix where x-axis has something like low value, high value customer segments, and y-axis has something like low touch and a high touch segment. Now, the customer segment which is high value and requiring high touch is what we call as accelerated. The tools which are available to reach out to this acceleration customer segment are tools like live chats, which is replacing the erstwhile, the more mundane telephone conversations, etc.
True.
The segment which is therein high in value, but requiring or expecting low touch is what we call as assisted. Now, an assisted customer segment will be best addressed by a data enrichment tools. There are multiple tools like ClearBit, etc., which we ourselves use, are available to populate relevant information and giving them those bits that they are looking for. The third customer segment is low on value and requiring high touch point. So this is a huge torso that we are talking about, where automation is what is expected. And with respect to automations, there are the tools that we talk about are the likes of chatbots that is used to qualify the customers, engage with the high value or high value visitors, etc. And the last, which is the lowest in value and expecting lowest touch point, are the ones we call as eliminated, which means try reaching out to them through a question bank or a curated knowledge base, etc. So how you deal with this accelerated, assisted, automated and eliminated customer segments and use the appropriate tools is what defines how a small or a mid-sized company will use technology efficiently to reach out to customers at scale and drive businesses.
This is interesting. So basically you are trying to refine your 80-20 all the time by doing this. That's indirectly, right? Yes. You're kind of, so I think at some stage you will try to make the first quadrant, I mean, the bottommost quadrant smaller and smaller and improve the other quadrants in that sense.
Basically use those intelligence to identify those customer segments and use the appropriate tools at different stages of their customer life cycles to ensure that you get the best. Use technology to drive business and not. So what this does is this leads to a non-linearity, Srikanth, versus a linear flow, where historically the old school was, if I need 10x business, I need 10 people. If I need 100x business, I need 100 people. Those logic are out of the window right now with so much technology available if you intelligently use it.
And I think you're identifying more basis the customer need versus value generated than anything else. So I think which is the right metric for growth.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think we are probably running out of time, but let me do one last one question each. I just want to kind of, before we close, ask both of you if you can point to one area which you think will be a game changer for the future of SMEs in their growth journey. One game changer that from each of you.
Yeah. So, like Mahadevan pointed out earlier, if you want to achieve growth, if you want to reach, at scale, fall back on technology, which is also intelligent by itself, right? So now there could be some level of, I would say customers taking a step back or companies taking a step back of, can I really go and trust AI? Can I trust machine learning? Is it really that effective? We can definitely vouch for you. And where we are companies at scale, we use this day in and day out. So our commercial portfolio is very intelligent, enabled by AI and ML. But the most importantly, we give that choice to the clients, to the companies, to hey, this is not a mandatory push coming in, but with AI and ML, you can see we've used this in a simple user productivity, I would say user experience for our devices, for example, right? Yeah. How AI enhances the performance, and people don't complain about performance anymore. People don't complain about devices being shut down because of some various tech issues. So something of that sort. But now here's the actual case. AI and machine learning now is available as a standard feature in a lot of technologies and in our commercial PCs. It's absolutely standard. You don't want it, you can keep it aside. But here's what we are, because we believe strongly in that. Our PCs are more and more intelligent. So that is going to be a big game changer. I think with connectivity and seamless workplace scenario, where you can just go set up your laptop or a desktop, whatever it is, start working from the way-go, using cloud-based deployment and AI and machine learning empowered, IT infrastructure is going to be a big game changer for the future to come. And I think that will provide a very important element of a lot of IT strategists who've been always calling out, don't let IT become a cost center, let IT become an enabler. And actually, give you tools to generate more revenue and profits for your company.
Absolutely. No, I agree. I think so. You're talking about so your take is on intelligent technology and seamless infrastructure. Great, Mahadevan, what will be your take?
Praveen has covered it all and very, very articulately, quite honestly, Srikanth. The only part that I would add to that, and again, something that resonates with the customer segments that we serve, small and mid-sized company, is automation. Until a few years back, and this will not be the future as well. This is already a present in many forms, using tools, etc. And an extension of AI that Praveen was already referring to. And when it comes to managing businesses, managing customer segments, managing and retention of and winning back customers, etc., there was an era where everything was data backed and was reactive. Then there was an era where things started being a little proactive. So you expect a customer or a business to move in a particular direction and take those steps accordingly. Today, with the advent and with the availability of so many tools and infra on AI NLPs, all of it has now moved to predictive. So the day, even before possibly a customer comes on board a platform, there is ample intelligence to use all the ingresses, all the data points, all the initial trades behaviors and other attributes to exactly predict with a very high degree of confidence what is going to be the lifetime value of the customer, how long is the customer going to be with me at what point of time, and under what triggers is the customer going to churn. So automation that has efficiently transitioned the business from moving from reactive to proactive to now predictive, along with all the IT infra that Praveen talked about, is what may not be the future as well. It's almost a present in many pockets that we see.
Absolutely. Can't agree more. And I think, both of you summed it up very well. And I think If I can summarize, I think the three big things that we're talking about are intelligent technology, seamless infrastructure, and of course, automation with a lot of predictive intelligence. I mean, so that, it makes it more meaningful and quicker for decision making. Absolutely. Great. Thank you very, very much, both of you. It's been a very interesting conversation, and I know it's been a pleasure talking to both of you. I'm sure there are a lot of takeaways for the people joining us today. Thank you again for the time, and thank you for being on this. Over to you, Pooja.